Good morning, everyone. We thank you so much for coming out today in celebration of Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday. I'm Jacqueline Coles, and I represent the Black Lowell Coalition.
And my name is Bridget Anderson Trim, and I am here for Just Dream Inc.
And together, we are the hosts, along with a slew of other individuals, for this flag raising today. We do have a program planned for you. It's anticipated to be about an hour, give or take. Everyone that would like to speak will have an opportunity to speak. We just ask that you're respectful of the amount of time that you're up here and that you're respectful of the statements that you make. As of now, you can stand, you can bow your head, you can do whatever you would like, but we would like to take 30 seconds for you to do a prayer or whatever religious or non-religious activity that is conducive for your body and your soul. Thank you. I loved everything you all had to say. It was amazing. So next we're going to play the Black National Anthem, which is Lift Every Voice and Sing. Typically, at other events you would play the American National Anthem. We do ask for those who are seated during the playing that you do stand in respect, but I would like to just read a little bit about this beforehand. Few songs have captured as much of the sweep of U.S. history as Lift Every Voice and Sing. For over a century, like America the Beautiful or the Pledge of Allegiance, Lift Every Voice has allowed its reciters to express and embrace the ideals and promise of the American experiment. While the first stanza alludes to the dark past, it is only in the second and third stanzas that the song reveals itself to be an anthem for African Americans. In the 1910s, hundreds of thousands of African Americans fled the South in search of better paying jobs and less overt prejudice and segregation in northern cities. During the First World War, black communities rallied to the flag, but also sought to ensure that the war to end all wars would nurture greater freedom and equality for them at home. Music, literature, and other arts were put into service of this movement and ignited the great Harlem cultural renaissance of the post-war era. Even as white America largely denied African American social progress after 1918, black writers and artists expressed both the joys and agonies of it under racism and gained unprecedented prominence. The inauguration of Barack Obama as President of the United States in 2009 once again brought Lift Every Voice and Sing to the attention of millions as a message of multicultural hope and aspiration. During the often troubled decade that followed, the song regained its militant force. In 2017, the carillon at the University of Florida rang out the melody in protest against the appearance of a white supremacist speaker on campus. In such ways, the Negro National Anthem has retained power and significance more than a century after its creation. If you're curious to know what the lyrics are, there are a few programs in the back that have the lyrics in there. We're not asking you to sing along. Please bear with me as we transition our technology. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a technical difficulty. These things happen.
We black people, we know sex. Right?
Would you like to move up so we can?
And sing, till earth and heaven ring. With our harmonies of liberty, let our rejoicing rise high as the evening stars. We'll see. Come on.
Get it, get it, get it, get it.
Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
That's the Lowell choir, the Lowell Mass Choir. Yes, it is. So we'll just skip Kirk Franklin. That's what you call family, y'all. When you have technical difficulties that do occur, you have people who will pick up the pieces, and I sincerely appreciate that. At this time, I would like to call forward Mr. Justin Ford, who will read the history of slavery in Massachusetts.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Justin Ford, and I am the Civic Engagement Coordinator at Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association. I am of Khmer, African American, and French ancestry. I will read to you the generalized history of slavery in Massachusetts, with an ask that you do more research yourself, as this story, is much more involved and inclusive of Lowell than what I will share today. It is generally agreed that African enslaved people first arrived in Massachusetts in 1630s. Slavery was legally sanctioned in Massachusetts in 1641 during the colonial era. Numerous laws were passed regulating movement and marriage among the enslaved, and Massachusetts residents actively participated in the slave trade. Historians estimate that between 1775 and 1764, the Massachusetts slave population was approximately 2.2% of the total population. The slave population was generally concentrated in industrial and coastal towns. As the rhetoric supporting independence of the colonists from Great Britain intensified in the colonies of Massachusetts, some noted the glaring inconsistencies of arguing for the rights of Englishmen while owning slaves. For example, James Otis, a leading prominent of colonial independence, wrote in a highly regarded and influential 1764 pamphlet that the colonists are by law of nature freeborn, as indeed all men are, white or black. The enslaved, too, were active in seeking the end of slavery in Massachusetts. For example, in 1773, a group of enslaved people petitioned the General Court to end slavery and directly tied their search for liberty to the colonial struggles with Great Britain. The Constitution of 1780 was after a constitution was drafted by the legislature and rejected by voters in 1778. The Constitution proposed in 1778 would have recognized slavery as a legal institution and excluded free African Americans from voting. The Constitution of 1780, in contrast, contained a declaration that all men are free and equal and have the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberty. Because Massachusetts slaves were considered both as property and as persons before the law, slaves could institute and prosecute lawsuits in the court against their masters, who would be obliged to demonstrate their lawful title to ownership of their slave. By 1780, nearly 30 slaves had sued their masters for their freedom, most during the years following 1764. However, these cases were not decided on the basis of any natural right to freedom. Instead, the courts required a specific point of law to decide in favor of a slave, such as a master's broken promise to grant freedom or the questionable slave status of the individual's mother. The 1781 Berkshire County case of Brom and Brett versus Ashley, often referred to as the Mum, Bet, or Elizabeth Freeman case, was unique because it occurred less than 1 year after the adoption of the 1780 Massachusetts Constitution, and because in contrast to prior freedom suits, there was no claim that John Ashley, the slave owner, had violated a specific law. This case was a direct challenge to the very existence of slavery in Massachusetts. During the 1770s, Mum Bet was enslaved in the household of Colonel John Ashley of Sheffield, a prominent citizen who at the time served as a judge of the Berkshire Court of Common Pleas. During the 1770s, Mum Bet was enslaved in the household of Colonel John Ashley of Sheffield, a prominent citizen who at the time also served as a judge on the Berkshire Court of Common Pleas. In the early January 1773, Ashley became a moderator of a committee of 11 local citizens, including attorney Theodore Sedgwick, that wrote a document known as the Sheffield Declaration. The Sheffield Declaration document, approved by the Constitution on January 12th of 1773, expressed anger at how Great Britain was treating her subjugates in the colony of Massachusetts, and resolved that mankind in a state of nature are equal, free, and independent of each other, and have a right to the undisturbed enjoyment of their lives, their liberty, and property. The Sheffield Declaration requested its local representative to the General Court in Boston to consider the declaration and to use every constitutional means in his power that the grievances complained of may be redressed. According to later stories often told about Mum Bet, her freedom suit was prompted by her overhearing a dinner table conversation in the Ashley home about new promises of liberty and made in the Sheffield Declaration, 1773. The Declaration of Independence in 1764 and the Massachusetts Constitution, 1780. Other reports suggest that her suit was prompted by when Bet's mistress, Mrs. Hannah Ashley, attempted to strike Bet's sister with a hot shovel, but struck and burned Bet when she intervened. Bet fled. When Ashley sought to reclaim his property, Bet reportedly sought help from prominent local attorney Theodore Sedgwick, who had often visited the Ashley home and was clerk of the committee that had drafted the Sheffield Declaration. As one historian notes, it is also possible that a group of prominent residents of Berkshire County selected Elizabeth and a Negro man, Brom, who was associated with her in the suit, in order to determine whether or not slavery was a constitutional in Massachusetts after the adoption of the new Constitution. Procedurally, the case began in 1781 when the attorneys for Bet and Brom obtained a writ of sorry, I can't say that, in action for the recovery of property. From the Berkshire Court of Common Pleas, the writ ordered Ashley to release Bet and Broom to the sheriff because they were not Ashley's legitimate property. Ashley refused. When the case was tried again in August of 1781 before the County Court of Common Pleas in Great Barrington, Sedgwick argued that the Massachusetts Constitution had outlawed slavery. The jury determined that Brom and Bet were not Ashley's property. The court set Bet and Brom free and awarded them 30 shillings damages, estimated around $1,300 today. Ashley appealed to the Supreme Court, to the Judicial Supreme Court, but abandoned his appeal several months later. The timing of his decision suggests that Ashley may have determined that an appeal was futile following the first ruling of the Supreme Judicial Court in the Quack Walker case. Thought little is known of Brom later years. The remainder of Mom Bet's life is well known. Mom Bet worked for many years as a beloved domestic servant in the household of Theodore Sedgwick, her lawyer. Upon her death in 1829, Mom Bet was buried in the Sedgwick family plot in Stockbridge. Her gravestone included the words, "She was born a slave and remained a slave for nearly 30 years. She could neither read nor write, yet her own sphere she had no superior or equal." Her tombstone stands in the innermost circle of what is known as the Sedgwick pie. She was born a slave and The Quack Walker case, this case actually a series of 3 cases, began as a freedom suit based on a promise of freedom or manualism, but resulted in a sweeping declaration by the Supreme Judicial Court Chief Justice William Cushing that the institution of slavery was incompatible with the principles of liberty and legal equality articulated in the Massachusetts Constitution. Quack Walker Enslaved was purchased by an infant by James Caldwell in 1754. In 1763, Caldwell died and his widow married Nathaniel Jensen. Walker became the property of Jensen, who resided in central Massachusetts town of Bear. In 1781, at the age of 28, Walker fled to the home of Caldwell's sons. Jensen recaptured, beat, and re-enslaved Quack Walker. 3 court proceedings followed. In the first case, Walker, with the assistance of leading Worcester County attorneys Levy Lincoln and Caleb Strong, sued Jensen for assault and battery. Walker claimed he had been injured without right, as James Caldwell, his first master, had promised Walker freedom by the age of 25. This case was tried before a jury in Worcester County Court of Common Pleas. The jury found that the quack is a free man and is not the proper Negro slave of Jensen, and awarded Walker damages of 50 pounds. In the second case, tried during the same court session, Jensen sued Caldwell's brothers for interfering with his property. Jensen claimed the brothers had unlawfully enticed Walker away for their own benefit. In this action, Jensen prevailed, and the jury awarded the damages of 25 pounds. Each side appealed these contradictory verdicts, and the 2 cases were placed on the docket of the Supreme Judicial Court in 1781. Jensen was ruled in default on his appeal for failing to present the required papers. The Caldwell brothers prevailed in their appeal to the state's high court. Reports of this trial reflect that attorney Levy Lincoln, who represented Caldwell brothers, centered his argument on the promises of freedom contained in the new Massachusetts Constitution. The following year, in 1782, Jensen petitioned the General Court, the official name of the Massachusetts legislature, for reinstatement of the case he had lost by default 10 months earlier. The legislature took no action. Meanwhile, in what became the third Quack Walker case, the Attorney General prosecuted Jensen for criminal assault and battery upon Quack Walker Jensen was indicted in September 1781, though the case did not come before the Supreme Judicial Court until April of 1763. In his charge to the jury, Supreme Judicial Court Chief Justice William Cushion announced that slavery was incompatible with the new Massachusetts Constitution. These sentiments that are favorable to the natural right of mankind led the framers of our Constitution of government, by which the people of this Commonwealth have solely bound themselves to each other to declare that all men are born free and equal, and every subject is entitled to liberty, and to have it guarded by the laws as well as his life and property. In short, without resorting to implication in constructing the Constitution, slavery, in my judgment, as effectively abolished as it can be by the granting of rights and privileges wholly incompatible and repugnant to its existence. The court are therefore fully of the opinion that perpetual servitude can no longer be tolerated in government, and that liberty can only be forfeited by some criminal conduct or relinquished by personal consent or contract. And it is therefore unnecessarily to consider whether the promises of freedom to quack on the part of his masters and mistress amounted to mannerism or not. The jury convicted Jensen, and the court ordered him to pay a fine of 40 shillings. The 1790 census recorded no slaves in Massachusetts, but historians disagree over the role of Quack Walker case in abolishing slavery in Massachusetts. The case was not widely reported at the time, and changing economic conditions and public opinion increasingly hostile to slavery doubtless played an important role in slavery's demise. However, after the Quack Walker case, it was clear that local Massachusetts slave owners would not prevail in the state courts. This, in turn, undermined whites' confidence in their property rights in slaves, and emboldened enslaved persons of color to demand manuism or wage compensation for their owners, or simply to walk away. As historian John Cushion concluded, there is ample evidence that Quack Walker cases were a significant step toward the end of slavery in Massachusetts. Thank you. Thanks.
Hello. Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. We appreciate it. Now we have Miss Bridget Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you all taking the time out of your beautiful day to be here with us to celebrate such an important day and, to really commemorate the importance of Juneteenth and the Juneteenth flag. So today I'll be reading a poem called Let America Be America Again, written by the great Langston Hughes. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America was never America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek, and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. Excuse me one second. Let me just take this out of here. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in the ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land. of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, and mean. Hungry, yet today despite the dream. Beaten, yet today, oh pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead. The poorest worker, bartered through the years. Yet, I'm the one who dreamt of our basic dream. I'm the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings, in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lee, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland for the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, all the songs we've sang, all the hopes we've held, all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay. Oh, let America be America again, the land that has never been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood? Whose faith in pain? Whose hand at the foundry? Whose plow in the rain? Must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose, but still the freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on other people's lives, we must take back our land again. America, oh yes, I say it plain. America was never America to me, and yet, I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and the ruin of the gangster death, the rape and the rot of the graft, and the stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of the great green state, and make America again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anderson. Soon we will have you on stage to present you with your Emmy and your Grammy and whatever else you get in the arts, I'm not sure. We're going to go ahead and skip the slave narrative where a young lady was telling us about her experiences after slavery just because of technical difficulties. And we will now hand it over to our mayor of Lowell, Mayor Sokari Chow.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Normally, I welcome technical difficulty just because that after a poem reading like that, it's just amazing. It touches your heart, gives you a lot of energy. Wonderful reading that and delivering the message of the poem. You know, I think the day says it all about Juneteenth. It's a happy celebration. It's also sombering. And the two go together every time we celebrate African American history. You know, the struggles of the African Americans, like the poetry say, and to make history, and yet we are still here. We still have a lot of work to do. And you can feel in the weather today, it's a beautiful day, but it is sombering a little bit, isn't it? You got a cool wind blowing around you, give you a sense of niceties to it, right? A little bit of freedom, but it makes you reflect. It makes you reflect about history. And none of us would be here today without the great struggle of our Black Americans. You cannot hear? Okay. I'm not quite sure which use microphone. Can you hear me now? But thank you for that, and thank you for reminding me that our voices are very important, and they are stronger when we come together. And before I continue speaking, I just want to acknowledge all my colleagues on the City Council and on the school committee. Please, if you could come to the front with me, Councilor Lowell. All the elected officials from the state as well. State representative, state senator, please come up here. All the elected officials, please come forward. Eric. And I also want to acknowledge all the great allies in the city. I won't be able to, I'm going to get into trouble here, I'm going to miss somebody, but I see Daniel McFadden from the Lowell Chamber of Commerce. I see Mr. Phil Sisson from Middlesex Community College, Sotia Chumruan from CMA, Latifah Phillips from the public schools. Welcome, and my good friend Jay Lenihan from Lowell Community Foundation. Thank you for your support. Raise your hand if I miss anybody. I apologize, but thank you for the allies. Former City Councilor Rodney Elliott, former mayor as well. Thank you for being here. Just all the great allies from the community that make this possible. And normally, the mayor reads the meanings of an event like this, and also present the proclamation. I'm going to change the format a little bit because this year is really a year of history. And the irony of history is this, actually, making history. You don't make history by following history. You make history by changing history, and therefore you become part of history. So if you want to make history, you got to change history. Change the part that are not positive, they're not conducive to us having freedom, to us having equality. So we have to change history. And this year we have 2 African American elected officials, one on council and one in the city on the school committee. So I'm going to have So I'm going to ask Ms. Thompson to read, I'm going to put both of you on the spot, Ms. Thompson to read the meaning of the flag raising for Juneteenth, and I'm going to ask Councilor Robinson to read the proclamation today. Ms. Thompson.
So I believe this is the meaning. I'm going to read that. Excellent.
This is official, Stacey.
Right.
Official, you can do it.
I like being official. It's a good feeling.
See, from the church, they tell you to be also ready, so I'm ready. All right, so good morning. But in all seriousness, June 19th, 2022 marks the 157th anniversary of the last African-American slaves being freed in Texas on June 19th, 1865. Exactly, amen. And that was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Also on June 19th, we celebrate Juneteenth, the newest federal holiday where last year President Biden signed into law Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, S-475, creating a federal holiday to commemorate Juneteenth. Juneteenth becoming a national holiday will not simply give employees a day off, and it should not, but also give us all a chance to be with family and friends and reflect on how far we've come as a nation, state, city, and how much more we need to do as a community. There is far more work to be done. As I look across and welcome all of you who stand here on the front steps of City Hall, I see your history. I see your culture, I should say our culture, our fight and struggles. I see our dreams and hopes, and I pray to God for freedom and equity for all. I pray that our children will bear less and less the heavy burdens of our history. Because, as I've quoted John F. Kennedy, or as he's quoted John F. Kennedy before, our most basic common link is that we all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. Thank you, Black Lowell Coalition, Just Dream Inc., and RFBJ, chapter of BIG, for organizing the various Juneteenth city events. And I would also say Free Soils Arts Collective. Also, a shout out to Jacqueline Coles, my girl, who impressively coordinated all of these efforts. Thank you all for coming out, and I wish you and your loved ones a very happy Juneteenth.
My twin sister. She can deliver the speech better than I can, and as you can hear, we also share the same voice, right? Whether it's me speaking or Stacy speaking, it's the same voice, it's the same passion. And also, I also want to welcome Pastor Wheeler as well. Thank you, Pastor, for being here. I also have a member of the police department here as well. Now, I would like to ask my colleague, Councilor Robinson, to present the proclamation to Bridget and to Jacqueline and your entire organization for organizing this event. Councilor?
They both work. I'll hold this one.
This is the, you have good eyesight, so you might be able to read the small version. I have a big one for me. So.
Whereas the city of Lowell,
You could change your name to
its residents and businesses are fully committed to celebrating and promoting diversity, inclusion, and equity for all of its historic cultures to be a valued part of our community. And whereas June 19th, 1865 commemorates the day that Galveston, Texas received word that enslaved Black Americans had been freed and given equal rights by President Abraham Lincoln's signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, done 2 years earlier. This day became known as Juneteenth, which established new traditions of celebrating civil rights and inclusion across the United States. Juneteenth became a federally recognized holiday on June 17, 2021. And Juneteenth is a day for reflection. It's a day for healing, it's a day for hope, and most especially, a call for action. We have come far, and we have far to go. The city of Lowell acknowledges that Black Americans everywhere, as well as all people of color, have endured a long legacy of institutional injustice and racism. Working together, we move our city forward by taking united action and a public stand against direct and indirect racial hate. Juneteenth is also a stand against direct and indirect racial hate. It's also a day of celebration, taking steps to ensure that all our residents feel welcomed in an equal part, not only at City Hall, but throughout our great city. Now, therefore, I, Councilor Corey Robinson of Lowell, Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim June 19th as Juneteenth Day in the city of Lowell and urge all our residents to join together to continue our program to make Lowell a city for all. Thank you very much. On behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to present that to you. And I have to say, can we get the Mitchell family up here as well too? Because I have to say, that event last night, combined organization, again, all weekend, all of y'all are providing opportunities to learn throughout the community. Can y'all please come up?
Come up. This is a collaborative effort. This is a coalition. This is all of us. Krista, you as well.
Krista, you know how to get up here. Get up here.
This is all of us. Yes, all of us.
Good job, brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, take a good look here, because it's only going to grow. I mean, this group right here, all weekend they've provided learning opportunities, experiences. There's tons more going on. And last night was the kickoff to the whole weekend to celebrate. And I mean, first time I've seen the community get together in that capacity. 300 plus people came out, well dressed, enjoyed themselves. Great time, and thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you done with your piece? Do any other city councilors want to speak?
You want me to ask them?
Yes.
Okay.
And the state rep if she would like to.
Okay. All right. And Corey is also my twin brother. We stand next to each other. You could never tell us apart. At this time, I don't know if any of the member of the council would like to speak. And also, I just want to acknowledge Councilor Danny Rook was here earlier. He had another engagement to go to as well. So we can go from right to left.
Thank you so much for the organizer of this event, and I'm so privileged to be part of this and hopefully to continue this celebration. On June 19, 1865, U.S. Army troop led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived at Galveston, Texas. The Civil War had ended a month earlier, but these were the first United States troops to arrive in Texas. General Granger immediately issued an order that stated, among other things, that the people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. A year later, black residents of Texas celebrate anniversary of that date, calling it Juneteenth. And I'm so proud to be part of this. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say, I was thinking, Juneteenth, what does it mean to me? This national holiday is centered around two areas that currently our local government is making commitment and investment around. Communication and action, centered around equity and justice. Sharing vital information is the first step. Our ancestors were not informed by design. They were not informed that the nightmare was coming to an end. The detrimental effects of not being informed can be likened to the thousands of our neighbors that don't receive critical information regarding services and programming offered in our community. The second area, which to me is the most important piece of the action, it's action. The action the federal troops took in 1865 when they arrived in Galveston, Texas, to take control of the state and ensure that all enslaved people were freed. This action ensured not only was the message delivered, but the core intention was carried out. This action I liken to the many commitments our local government is actively setting in motion to ensure our city provides an equitable condition of life for all of our residents. So again, don't let history repeat itself. My colleagues and I are here pledging and dedicated to work with the community to make sure that everybody's informed, everybody's accounted for, and we have a serious set of action. Because without the troops arriving to deliver that message, where would we still be? Thank you. And shout out to the veterans, absolutely. Thank you very much, and let's enjoy. I mean, this holiday is filled of many emotions, but I'll tell you what, we have sombering, we have good, we have sad, we have fun. Find something of all the activities planned for this week and take part, because our groups in the community have really stepped up to provide these opportunities, And there's many community partners that made this all possible. So please, if anyone's looking for activities centered around this holiday, speak to any one of us, and we can definitely point you in the right direction. Thank you all.
Hey, y'all. I said it last night. I'm going to say hello, beautiful black people. And all of those who came to support us as well. Thank you so much for being here. So what I will say is this. Juneteenth, there's a lot, and Corey just said it really well. Juneteenth evokes a lot of emotions. I just want to read something. I read this at work, actually. We had an event, and I just wanted to share this with you all as well. To this day, the chains of my ancestors have to be ones that we work to throw off and keep off. The history is clear. Hundreds of years of slavery left a legacy experienced as a 2022 reality. Now, it may look different, but understand that there's still mass incarcerations, there's an achievement gap, there's housing discrimination, there's a vicious cycle of poverty, violence, and a lack of opportunity throughout America's inner cities. And that's legacies of 200 plus years of African American bondage that is still with us. But on this day, we celebrate our perseverance in spite of a system meant to kill both our spirit and our body. So why is Juneteenth such an important timestamp in history? It's because it marks the truer day of independence for the Black Americans who were living enslaved. It's about freedom and choices. It's about belonging. It's about opportunities. It is something that people that look like me were fiercely denied. On this day, June 19th, well, it's the 18th, but you guys get the point. The scales of evils of slavery started to fall off. On this day, we recognize that although our ancestors did not have choice in what they endured, they had no control over their lives and their future that we did and we do. So it is with intention that I say Happy Freedom Day, Happy Jubilee Day, Happy Celebration Day, Happy Second Independence Day, Happy Emancipation Day, Happy Juneteenth.
I just want to let everyone know, out of respect, that my colleagues, we are here to listen. They asked me that they would not like to speak, but it's more important that we listen and we participate, and we will continue to do the work for you and for the community. So I will now hand the microphone back to Jacqueline.
It would have been nice if you just had a drop mic, but all right. It's all good. Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate that. At this time in the program, anyone who would like to come speak, who has anything to say, anything in their heart, please come forward, or I can bring a microphone to you. We have one here, we have one here, and Miss Bridget has one over there. We just ask that you speak into the mic so that we can properly listen and hear you. And now we have John Smith.
How we doing today? Can we hear me? All right. So my name's John Smith. I'm the owner of Flip Flop Vintage downtown Lowell. This day is very important to me personally. I was in Concord State Prison when I found mostly about Juneteenth, and that was the day that I learned that I was going to break the chains. Not just in prison, not just with drugs, but the chains in all barriers. Like being an ex-convict, coming out and struggling. I had to do those struggles. I had to go through that stuff, mental health problems, trying to get a job, but I attained the job real quick. I stayed in that job for 25 years, right? So I did these things, and I remember back in the day, people would say, man, why isn't there a black business down in Lowell? And there was some black businesses, but listen, there wasn't any black businesses, black owned and operated. And that's what we have today. That was something I've always wanted to do, is bring a black-owned business. And not only for that, I wanted to bring something different to Lowell. I'm from Boston, from Lowell, but I wanted to bring a certain class, certain art, certain respect, and I think we've been doing that for a year, and I see the only way we can break the chains is if everybody gets with the program. You know what I mean? People don't understand we have a blackness about us. We're not like everybody else. When you see the pictures of Lowell's history, it's their history. You see people of non-color there. So that's his story. Now we gonna rock out with our story. We gonna do it our way. We gonna, you know, if we can paint the block with color, we're gonna do that. If we can provide for people, we're gonna do that. But we need support. That's the thing. We got young brothers and sisters out there hurting each other, all this kind of stuff. But if black men, women, Cambodian, anybody steps up, we won't have this problem. What we need is to step up and do our job each and every day and be examples for our children. I see a lot of kids here, but we should have more kids here. We should be putting these in our schools. Our kids should know about our histories, whether what color we are, where we're from, but our history is important. We need to address that every day and be productive citizens in Lowell. We need better examples, better people just picking up stuff. I see people walk around all the time. We got a little crew. I appreciate you. But please, we should not have a little crew. We should have humans that pick up trash and not put it down. If we see someone, we see these young men with their pants down, I see countless men watching them. I see countless men of Lowell watching these boys on bikes, on the sidewalk. I see men watching this. It's not a boy problem, it's a man problem. So we gotta step up, and that's what breaking the chains is all about. I'm here, I'm gonna break these chains, can't nobody stop me. But what about you? I see a lot of people passive about being aggressive, about doing this. But Frederick Douglass said, and I will follow this to the end of my days, on his deathbed, he said, agitate, agitate, agitate.
Anyone else?
My name is Terry Morris, and I'm here to represent Afro-American Community Collaborative. I have to just say that we have rebranded, and Corey, thank you. Some of us are Mitchells, but our collaborative and our committee goes far beyond our last name. So I want to thank everybody that is involved. I'm just sitting here overjoyed because I see the authors, the poets, the entertainers, those running for office and those that are in office, and I thank you. One thing that we have to do to continue moving the needle forward is to continue to stick together, collaborate with each other. There's many faces and many colors out here, but there's one thing that we as black people need to do is work together for the common interest of staying in touch with everybody. So please, let's continue this fight. Let's continue the effort. There are Juneteenth events all over the city this weekend, and I plan to be at every one. Majority of them, I think all of them, have free food and entertainment. So keep your empty belly and move around the city. And thank you all. Jacqueline, appreciate you. Bridget, thank you. Mayor, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Betsy Toro St. Ange, and I'm the founder of Comunidad de Lowell page through Facebook, which translates Community of Lowell. I am happy to be here this morning. Yes, it's an emotional day. Yes, but I'm happy. I'm happy because of our freedom. Like Stacy said, it's a day to celebrate freedom. It is an emotional day. The stories touches everyone, but we're here to honor Juneteenth, right? And I want to share a little bit of my history. I'm Puerto Rican, and as many of you know, we have African American heritage, right? I think everybody knows, but we also have indigenous heritage as well. And I want to say we also celebrate this holiday, but we celebrate it in March 22 of every year. Why? Because in March 22, was the abolition of our slaves, of our African American slaves in Puerto Rico, meaning that we had 8 years, more time than here in the United States, suffering, enduring so much pain, and it is very emotional, like I said. But today, I want to celebrate, I want to honor this day with everyone in my community. And it was important for me to be here today to share that little piece of history. Mr. Christopher Columbus, he did atrocities to our people, okay? He brought all the slaves, all the African American slaves to work in cotton, tobacco, coffee, sugar canes. He didn't discover anything. That's our land. We are the people who work in that land. He didn't discover anything. Funny, right? No, we endure so much in the hands of the chiefs of the white guy. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's the truth. And we were granted our freedom, like I said, in 1873. And I wanted to share that because I think that's a very important part of history, not only for all of us here this morning, for our Latinos. And I am more than happy to celebrate freedom because that's what we're here for, right? So today we celebrate freedom. I don't want to talk about the sad stories, right? We all know about them. Today we celebrate freedom with everyone. Thank you, Black Coalition, for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my history with everyone. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Krista Brown. I'm the founder of the Free Soil Arts Collective. We're based in Lowell. Our mission is to amplify voices of color through the arts, and I just want to say thank you to Jacqueline and Bridget for organizing this event. As everyone has mentioned, tomorrow there are 3 Juneteenth events happening. Free Soil's having an event on Market Street from 11 to 5. There's an event put on by Jacqueline tomorrow from 2 to 5 at Muldoon Park, and the Afro-American Community Collaborative from 5 to 10 at UTEC. So come, get your party on, spend the day with everyone in support. It's beautiful just to see this, all of these melanated folk in such a concentrated amount of days. This is the best. So thank you so much. And shout out to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and all of the Black Greeks in the house.
And non-Greek organizations.
All of them.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm so happy to be here. My name is Masashi Hugo. I have just got my PhD from UMass Lowell. Thank you. And I also was one of the keynote speakers at my graduation a month ago. And finally, I have just published a memoir of my journey called The Power of a Personal History. So the reason why I have kind of taken the floor is to, of course, acknowledge that the opportunity that I have had to come to study in this country. I'm coming from, Africa, the Republic of the Congo, so you can see with my accent, okay. But it's because largely the pave, the pave that my ancestors, have set, I can say, I would not be able to study if they were not this kind of, I can say, civil rights movements. If they were not people like Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, I could not be able to sit in class and, study, of course. So I just want to recognize that. And of course, many times we believe that history is the past. Many times we believe that history is just dates that we come to celebrate. But let me tell you, history is who we are. It actually lives within each of us. And sometimes we take it for granted. So I just want to say once again, thank you for organizing this. And I'm so happy and blessed, to be here. Once again, thank you. So actually, next week on November 22nd, I will have a
June?
Excuse
June,
me.
June.
Sorry.
Help him.
22nd, I will have a book talk event just right behind the city hall. So it will be about my book. So it talks about my history, coming from Africa, being in America, the perspective of an African, I can say student, but also immigrant, and some of the challenges that I went through, and of course what is kind of the philosophy that I have been able to form about America. What does America represent to some of us coming to this country, and of course some of the challenges that or the misunderstanding that come between one people, those who came here as slaves, and those who came here as seeking opportunities. So feel free if you have any time, to stop by on Wednesday. It will be from 6:30 to 8, and of course check out my book too. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
What a difference a year makes. I believe I stood here last year, and I had a few words to say, and change has come to our city. Change has come to our city council, and I think we need to celebrate the change that has come to our city. First, I want to take a moment to thank the city council for what they're doing to make Lowell a more inclusive place for everybody. I thank this mayor. I think, actually, we did something on Tuesday night. We had we did something on Tuesday night in our city council. I believe that racism has been named a health crisis. Last year, when that came before the city council, it didn't pass. But this year, because of the work of you all, the work of all of our people, we are in a better place. As I was listening to the young man speak to slavery in Massachusetts, it really resonated with me that in 1863, a law was passed for the whole country, but it took 2.5 years for that message to get to Texas. Really? It was all about economics. They was picking cotton in Texas. And guess what? Lowell's mills needed cotton for them to make clothes. But that's a story for another time. I thank you for this time, and let's celebrate the freedom that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last call for anyone who would like to speak before we do the actual flag raising. All right, I'm calling Mr. Brian Trim to the floor. He's coming. Give it up for Mr. Brad over here. He helped set up this morning. He's making sure this flag is going to go up properly. So as we have our counselors around, Mr. Brian Trim, he will raise the Juneteenth flag. The white star in the center of the flag has a dual meaning. For one, it represents Texas, the Lone Star State. It also represents the freedom of African Americans in all 50 states. The bursting outline around the star is inspired by a nova, a term that astronomers use to mean a new star. On the Juneteenth flag, this represents a new beginning for the African Americans of Galveston and throughout the land. The curve that extends across the width of the flag represents a new horizon, the opportunities and promise that lay ahead for Black Americans. The red, white, and blue represents the American flag, a reminder that slaves and their descendants were and are free Americans. Thank you so much. This concludes the official program for the Juneteenth flag raising in the city of Lowell.